This is Mac OS Ken.
Wedbush moves Apple back above 200. Tim Cook goes from touring China to talking about it. And a freebie coming from the Steve Jobs archive. It is Monday, the 3rd of April, 2023. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken. Brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Go to HelloFresh.com/MOK50 and use code MOK50 for 50% off. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSCan. Hop on board Mr. Ives' wild ride. A piece from Apple Insider says Wedbush has upped its price target on Apple shares. That site has a habit of not naming analysts for some reason, though Daniel Ives does track Apple for Wedbush. He has ridden his price target on Apple like something wild just since the start of this year. In the first week of 2023, he dropped his firm's price target on Apple shares from $200 to $175, thanks to the uncertain economic outlook. Despite the huge miss on iPhone, Ives was impressed by Apple's December quarter earnings call and raised his Apple target in February from $175 to $180. Strength for iPhone in China led him to raise his price target last month from $180 to $190. Now strength for iPhone is helping to push his target back over the $200 mark. While Wedbush does acknowledge that iPhone enjoyed a great March quarter, as missed holiday sales were made up in the quarter, that's not all that's driving the phone in the firm's estimation. Demand for iPhone rose in China last quarter, with the firm putting an emphasis on strength in March. The uptick in China, plus firm iPhone demand in the US and Europe, plus a quarter of iPhones on the market clocking in at 4 years old, plus iPhone 15 on the horizon, all spell Yahtzee. But wait, there's more. Not only are iPhone ASPs moving from $900 to about $925, more people buying iPhones means greater strength for Apple services. Wedbush sees growth for that segment of Apple's business reaccelerating back to a double-digit trajectory over the coming quarters. Then there are the anticipated growth accelerants, including the mixed reality headset, some sort of hardware subscription, and something in AI. They've made him a believer. Wedbush has an outperform rating on Apple shares. The firm used the weekend update to up its price target on the shares to $205. Apple CEO Tim Cook ended last week as he began it, hanging out in China. Apple Insider ran a piece Friday that had Cook meeting with members of the team at MiHoYo, developers of the Apple Design Award-winning game Genshin Impact. If you missed Cook's post about the visit, that's because you're not on China's answer to Twitter. While the CEO usually posts about such visits to Twitter, Apple Insider says Cook limited his mention to the Chinese microblogging site Weibo. There he is said to have said, "Fun meeting with the creators behind award-winning iPhone and iPad games like Genshin Impact. Thanks to the phenomenal team at MiHoYo for showing me how you create immersive fantasy worlds for everyone to enjoy on the App Store." If you're wondering where Cook is headed next, probably home. Another piece from Apple Insider says a bipartisan group of U.S. lawmakers is headed west this week, with stops planned in Hollywood on Wednesday, followed by a trip to Silicon Valley. The topic of conversation: China. The group making the journey apparently make up the new House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party. They're set to meet with Disney CEO Bob Iger, as well as producers, former studio execs, and screenwriters on Wednesday. They'll then head north to meet with a few tech execs on Thursday, including a couple from Microsoft and Google. Then Friday, they will talk China with the guy who just got back from China, Apple CEO Tim Cook. The piece says the delegation just wants to hear thoughts from the various players about the Middle Kingdom. There is said to be no legislative agenda, according to the report. The latest Apple Watch models have hit Apple's Refurbished store, Ultra not included. iLounge says the second generation SE and Apple Watch Series 8 have both landed among Apple's like-new offerings. According to the piece, Apple Watch Series 8 starts at $339 for a refurbished 41mm unit, a $60 discount off the same device new. The 45mm unit starts at $359, a $70 discount off a truly new chronometer. The 40mm Apple Watch SE starts at $209 refurbished, $40 off a true new price, and the 44mm SE2 starts at $239, a discount of $40 off a new SE2. Adding cellular adds to the price, of course. As for what you get, refurbished products from Apple are completely reconditioned, come with a 1-year warranty, and are eligible for Apple Care Plus. What's available when tends to fluctuate, though, so if you're looking for something in particular and it's not there, you might want to keep checking back. More news in a moment, but first I am very happy to welcome a new sponsor to macOS Ken. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Good food is too precious to waste. The pre-proportioned ingredients you get with HelloFresh cut down on your food waste by at least 23% compared to grocery shopping. That is good for your wallet and good for the planet. And the recipes are really good. Tilapia with scallion sriracha pesto may not sound like your thing. To be honest, I wasn't sure it would be for me. Holy cow, was that amazing. Fresh green beans, rice with a hint of ginger, and a scallion pesto that seriously knocked the flavors out of the park. And other recipes have done the same. HelloFresh keeps your taste buds on their toes with 40 recipes and over 100 seasonal and convenience items to choose from each week. With so much variety, there are options for everyone and every lifestyle. Try it for yourself. Go to hellofresh.com/MOK50 and use code MOK50 for 50% off, plus your first box ships free. That's hellofresh.com/MOK50 and code MOK50 for 50% off and free shipping on your first box. Don't miss this great offer on America's #1 meal kit. Get free shipping on your first box and 50% off with code MOK50 at hellofresh.com/MOK50. Well, this seems like a bad idea. The piece from Engadget says General Motors is phasing out Apple CarPlay and Android Auto in its electric vehicles. Beginning with the 2024 Chevy Blazer EV, the piece says GM cars will instead use Android Automotive and applications for that platform. It is a slow roll, if you'll pardon my use of that term. GM says combustion engine cars will still offer CarPlay and Android Auto. Their days are theoretically numbered, though. GM is planning to be EV only, at least as far as passenger cars go, by 2035. On one hand, GM execs say they can provide an experience more tightly coupled between car and technology if they can get the smartphone out of the mix. On the other hand, they can charge for things when those things aren't going through your phone. For example, Engadget says users will get 8 years of free Google Assistant and Google Maps use at no extra charge, the company doesn't mention what you'll pay if you still need those functions afterwards. Remember when the future sounded fun? The Steve Jobs Archive is making something that's meant to get you to make something. Since it was announced last September, it's been tough to put a finger on what exactly the Steve Jobs Archive is. It originally featured pictures, quotes, and video from Apple's iconic co-founder. The archive's About section was aspirational without being really concrete, saying, with respect for the past and excitement for the future, the Steve Jobs Archive offers people the tools and opportunities to make their own contribution. We are building programs, fellowships, collections, and partnerships that reflect Steve's values and carry his sense of possibility forward. Those words have since changed. Now the About section says, the Steve Jobs Archive is an authoritative home for Steve's story and a resource to help new generations make their own mark. Our book and upcoming digital exhibits, programs, and fellowships capture Steve's sense of possibility and carry it forward. And the book is what brings us back to the archive today. Apple Insider says the archive is putting out a digital book next week called Make Something Wonderful, Steve Jobs in His Own Words. The piece says the book contains familiar images and details some well-known moments from Jobs' life, as well as emails, conversations, and images that apparently haven't been seen before by the public. This includes his perspective on his childhood, on launching and being pushed out of Apple, his time at Pixar and Next, and his return to Apple. According to the archive, the book is designed to inspire readers to make their own wonderful somethings that move the world forward. And it will be free. The site says Make Something Wonderful, Steve Jobs in His Own Words is coming to digital platforms on Tuesday, the 11th of April. And finally today, the great sticker mystery may have been solved. Last week I told you of an unopened first-generation iPhone that sold at auction for just a little over $40,000. Being old and unopened wasn't all that set the now obsolete communicator apart, though. It also had a sticker on it featuring an Apple logo and the words, "Lucky You." Reporting on the device, Apple Insider said that the sticker's origin was unknown and guess the device might have been a prize in a contest or something. Not so, says Twitter's TheKassieMac. She added me on Twitter saying, the Lucky You stickers were introduced when the Apple stores cut back on bags. The stickers were placed on items to show that they were paid for, since most receipts were emailed by that point. I gotta say, that makes more sense than the contest thing. I mean, how many iPhones would you be giving away that you would make stickers for it? While I only have Cassie's word to go on, I have no problem believing that sticker story. And I do thank you, Cassie, for reaching out. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by HelloFresh. Go to hellofresh.com/MOK50 and use code MOK50 for 50% off. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSCan. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. info@macoscan.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.